Axl Rose. For decades, he's been the iconic, often controversial, and undeniably powerful voice of Guns N' Roses. He's the frontman who defined an era and influenced a generation of rock vocalists. His voice is a weapon, a searing, multi-octave force of nature that can shift from a venomous snarl to a heart-wrenching ballad in a single breath. He's been called one of the greatest singers of all time, a title he has both earned and, surprisingly, pushed away. Back in 2014, a study made a bold claim that among music's most legendary performers, Axl Rose had the widest recorded vocal range. The study alleged his range spanned an astonishing 5 octaves. Now, whether those numbers are scientifically perfect is up for debate, but suddenly the world had a new greatest singer, at least by one metric. So, what did the man himself think? In a rare public statement, Axl responded not with arrogance, but with surprising humility. He said he was flattered and humbled, but then immediately said that his own focus was just on rock singers. And then he did something extraordinary. He started naming names. Not in one single ranked list, but over time, in various interviews and statements, he has built a personal pantheon of the voices he looks up to most, the singers he'd rather hear. And why of them any time rather than me? That collection opens a fascinating window into the mind of a notoriously private genius and reveals the eclectic tapestry of sounds that shaped his own ferocious style. Today, we're not just going to read off names. We're going to unpack them. These are the voices that made the voice of Guns N' Roses, from rock gods to soulful legends and some truly shocking picks. This is Axl Rose's personal pantheon of the greatest singers of all time. You can't even start a conversation about the greatest rock vocalists without his name coming up. So it's no surprise the first person Axl has always championed is the incomparable Freddie Mercury. In a 2018 interview, Axl didn't just praise Mercury, he put him on a throne. He said, "For me, it's easy. Queen is the greatest band and Freddie is the greatest frontman of all time. The band are the greatest because they embrace so many different styles. That isn't just casual praise. It's a definitive statement from one of rock's most notorious frontmen about another. Mercury was a vocal phenomenon. While he spoke like a baritone, he sang as a tenor, possessing a famed 4-octave range, but it was more than just the notes. It was the sheer theatricality and control. One biographer described his voice as escalating within a few bars from a deep, throaty rock growl to a tender, vibrant tenor, then onto a high-pitched, perfect coloratura. Scientists have even tried to deconstruct the magic, noting his unusually fast vibrato and his use of subharmonics, a technique that creates a signature growl. It was a voice that was both technically brilliant and emotionally raw, something Axl Rose would build his own career on. The connection runs deep. The most legendary moment came on April 20th, 1992, at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert at Wembley. Axl Rose took the stage with Queen and Elton John to perform Bohemian Rhapsody. In true Axl fashion, he had apparently missed rehearsals, leaving everyone to fly by the seat of their pants. But when the heavy rock section kicked in, Axl exploded onto the stage, a spinning dervish of energy. He may not have had Freddie's warmth, but he had the power and the snarl to carry the song's iconic rage, creating one of the most memorable moments in tribute concert history. For Axl, Freddie Mercury wasn't just a great singer. He was the greatest. From the king of Queen, we go to the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley. It's almost impossible to overstate Elvis's influence on, well, everyone. Before Elvis, the idea of a rock frontman, as we know it, didn't really exist. He was the complete package, the voice, the swagger, the controversy, and the raw energy that became the blueprint for generations of performers, Axl included. Elvis's voice was an incredibly versatile instrument. He could deliver a tender ballad, like Love Me Tender, then turn around and unleash the proto-punk snarl of jailhouse rock. He had a rich baritone that could slide effortlessly into a higher tenor, filled with a natural vibrato that conveyed pure emotion. This ability to be both the sensitive lover and the dangerous rebel is a hallmark of great frontmen, and it's a quality Axl possesses in spades. You can hear the DNA of Elvis's swagger in Axl's stage presence in the way he commands a stadium, while Axl hasn't spoken as much about Elvis as some others. Including him is a nod to the very foundation of the music he would come to dominate. Elvis blended country, blues, and gospel into something new, threatening, and exciting. That fusion is deeply embedded in the music of Guns N' Roses, from the bluesy stomp of Night Train to the country-inflected patience. That willingness, too. Borrow and blend is a shared trait. By naming Elvis, Axl is paying respect to the source. The artist who made it possible for a kid from Indiana to dream of becoming a rock and roll king. Next up is a name that might seem surprising at first. Given GNR's hard rock sound, Sir Paul McCartney. We think of McCartney as a master of melody, not necessarily the raw power of Axl's other heroes. But to underestimate McCartney's rock and roll credentials is a huge mistake, and his inclusion shows the depth of Axl's musical appreciation. Long before Wings, McCartney was a rock and roll screamer. In the Beatles' early days, he honed his voice by belting out Little Richard covers for hours. Tracks like I'm Down and Helter Skelter showcase a raw, throat-shredding intensity that could rival any hard rock singer. McCartney's genius is his duality. He's the master of the beautiful melody, but he also has a powerful rock voice with immense grit. That versatility is something Axl surely recognized. The most direct link, of course, is GNR's iconic cover of Live and Let Die. Their version took McCartney's Bond theme and supercharged it with Slash's searing guitar and Axl's high-octane vocals. McCartney himself found it amusing that his own kids had to go to school and defend the fact that their dad wrote the song, because their friends only knew the GNR version. Back in 1989, a pre-fame Axl was even spotted in the front row of a private McCartney concert preview, intently watching the master at work. Axl's admiration for McCartney shows a deep respect not just for raw power, but for masterful songwriting and melodic genius. If there is one singer on Axl Rose's list who could be called his most direct influence, it's the late, great Dan McCafferty of Nazareth. While Freddie was his greatest frontman, McCafferty was, in Axl's own words, the reason he started singing. In a 1988 interview, Axl confessed, "If it wasn't for Don McCafferty in Nazareth, I wouldn't be singing." That says it all for a young Axl Rose in Indiana. McCafferty's voice was the benchmark for rock and roll power. The Scottish singer had one of the most distinctive voices in history, a powerful, gravelly, raspy instrument that sounded like it had been soaked in whiskey and gargled with razor blades, yet it could still soar. He was a pioneer of the high-pitched, raspy vocal approach that would define so much of 70s and 80s hard rock. The influence is undeniable. That signature Axl Rose screech, that blend of melody and raw, throat-tearing grit, owes a massive debt to McCafferty. The connection was so deep that Guns N' Roses covered Nazareth's Hair of the Dog on their album The Spaghetti Incident The admiration was personal too. A story has circulated for years that Axl invited McCafferty to sing Love Hurts at his 1990 wedding, an invitation McCafferty reportedly declined. When McCafferty passed away in 2022, Axl wrote a heartfelt tribute saying, "Their music and Dan's voice will always have a special place in my heart." For Axl, Don McCafferty wasn't just an influence. He was a mentor from afar, and 5. Janis Joplin, pure energy. That's how most people describe the force of nature that was Janis Joplin, and it's no wonder Axl Rose put her on his list. Joplin was a supernova, a vocalist who sang with every fiber of her being, channeling raw, untamed emotion. She didn't just sing songs, she bled them. Her voice was a cracked, blues-soaked, and utterly unique instrument, capable of a vulnerable whisper one moment and a soul-shattering scream the next. While Axl hasn't detailed Joplin's influence directly, the sonic parallels are impossible to ignore. Many have pointed out the similarities in their vocal approaches. Both singers possess what you could call raw, broken, and purely rock and roll voices. They share an ability to push their voices to the very edge, to find that breaking point, where sound becomes pure emotion. It's that howl, that sense of cathartic release that connects the two, Joplin, who tragically died in 1970, redefined the role of a female vocalist in rock. She proved that you didn't need a polished, pretty voice to captivate an audience. You needed authenticity and passion. She took her influences from blueser greats like Bessie Smith and channeled them into a psychedelic rock context, creating something entirely new. In his own way, Axl did the same, blending punk, metal, and classic rock into the unique GNR sound. In honoring Janis Joplin, Axl acknowledges a kindred spirit, an artist who understood that the most powerful performances come from the soul. Here we arrive at one of the most complex names on Axl's list, the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Artistically, it makes perfect sense. Jackson was a vocal perfectionist, an innovator, and a performer of unparalleled magnetism. A student of vocal performance like Axl would undoubtedly respect the sheer technical brilliance in Jackson's work, however the relationship be. Asterisk vocalist whose power comes not from screaming, but from sophisticated, soulful storytelling. If you want to understand the grand, symphonic sound of later Guns N' Roses, you have to listen to the Electric Light Orchestra. And the architect of that sound was Jeff Lynne. Axl's inclusion of Lynne is a massive nod to a producer, songwriter, and vocalist whose influence on his own work cannot be overstated. Lynne was the mastermind of ELO, a band that set out to pick up where the Beatles left off. They fused pop melodies with lush, classical arrangements, creating a unique brand of symphonic rock. Lynne's production style was famously dense and layered. His own clear tenor voice often blended seamlessly into the rich tapestry of the music. This ambitious, more is more approach was a direct influence on the sprawling sound of the Use Your Illusion albums. Axl has specifically cited ELO as a key inspiration for his cinematic songwriting. You can hear echoes of songs like Mr. Blue Sky and the grand arrangements of November Rain. Axl took Lynne's concept of symphonic rock and infused it with a hard rock edge. Listing Jeff Lynne as Axl's acknowledgement of a fellow studio visionary whose sonic blueprint helped shape GNR's most ambitious music. From the slick productions of Jeff Lynne, we go to the raw, unvarnished honesty of the man in black, Johnny Cash. Placing Cash on this list shows Axl's appreciation for a different kind of vocal power, one that comes not from range or technique, but from pure, unfiltered authenticity. Johnny Cash did not have a conventionally great voice. It was a craggy, limited baritone, often weathered and flat. But what it lacked in technical polish, it more than made up for in authority. When Johnny Cash sang, you believed him. His voice was the sound of truth, of hardship, of sin and redemption. It was a voice that had lived a life, and you could hear every mile of the road in his delivery. This raw authenticity is a quality Axl has always strived for. Behind the screech and swagger, there's often a deep well of pain and vulnerability in Axl's voice. Cash, especially with his later American recordings, showed that a singer's power could grow even as their physical voice diminished. He proved that character and a great story could be more powerful than any high note. Axl's inclusion of Johnny Cash is a salute to the power of truth. From the gritty honesty of the heartland, we move to the sophisticated cool of the city with old blue eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. This choice showcases Axl's incredibly eclectic taste and his admiration for pure, effortless vocal mastery. Sinatra was more than a singer. He was a master of interpretation. A vocal actor who could make you feel every ounce of a lyric's joy or sorrow. Sinatra was the master of phrasing. He treated the melody like a conversation, lagging behind the beat or pushing ahead of it, creating long, elegant lines that seemed to float on air. He could be the swaggering showman on Luck Be a Lady or the heartbroken saloon singer on One. For My Baby, his control was absolute, yet his delivery always felt natural. He made it sound easy, which is the mark of a true master. While their musical styles are polar opposites, the connection is the concept of the frontmen, Sinatra commanded. A stage with effortless charisma and an aura of confidence, sometimes bordering on arrogance, that was captivating. Axl, in a much more chaotic way, possesses a similar ability to command an audience's undivided attention. By including Sinatra, Axl acknowledges the pinnacle of vocal interpretation and stage presence. Of all the names Axl has praised, perhaps the most surprising and revealing is the legendary jazz vocalist, Little Jimmy Scott. Scott is not a household name, but among musicians, he is revered as a singer's singer, a unique and transfixing artist. His inclusion is the mark of a true music connoisseur. Jimmy Scott's voice was one of a kind. Due to a rare genetic condition, his voice remained in a high, pre-adolescent range. The result was a sound that was startling and beautiful, a high, natural contralto, but it was his phrasing that made him a legend. He was a master of the ballad, known for his incredibly slow, drawn-out delivery. He would stretch words to their breaking point, wringing every last drop of emotion from a lyric. Quincy Jones said Scott sang like a horn and that his style was soul-penetrating. By placing him on this list, Axl isn't just showing off his deep musical knowledge. He is paying tribute to the raw, unconventional power of a unique voice. He's acknowledging that greatness isn't about fitting a mold. It's about having a voice so singular, so emotionally potent that it's impossible to forget. Jimmy Scott is the ultimate testament to individuality, a quality Axl has embodied his entire career. Next, Axl turns to the world of blues and soul. With the mighty Etta James, her presence on the list is a testament to his love for raw, powerful, and emotionally fearless female vocalists. Etta James didn't just sing the blues, she embodied them. Her voice was a force of nature, gutsy, soulful, and full of sass and vulnerability in equal measure. Etta James could do it all. She could deliver a tender, classic ballad like At Last, or belt out a raw rhythm and blues number like Tell Mama. She could be tough, tender, defiant, and heartbroken, often in the same song. Her voice had a gritty edge, a sense of having lived through the pain and joy she sang about. She was a master of inflection, able to convey a world of meaning with a single growl or shout. This ability to project both immense strength and deep vulnerability is a recurring theme among the singers Axl admires. The blues is a fundamental building block of rock and roll, and Etta James was one of its most powerful ambassadors. Her influence can be heard in countless rock singers, from Janis Joplin to Axl himself. By including Etta James, Axl pays his respects to a true matriarch of American music. The youngest artist to appear on Axl's list is the fiercely original Fiona Apple. Her inclusion, alongside legends who started their careers decades before she was born, is a powerful statement about Axl's respect for uncompromising artistic vision. Fiona Apple, like many others on this list, is an artist who plays by her own rules. Apple's voice is a marvel of dynamic control. She possesses a deep, smoky contour, asterisk alto that can shift in an instant from a hushed whisper to a percussive, rage-fueled torrent of words. She uses her voice like an instrument, playing with rhythm and tone in a way that is uniquely her own. Her lyrics are complex, literate, and unflinchingly honest, exploring love, anger, and turmoil with raw vulnerability. It's easy to see why Axl would be a fan. Fiona Apple embodies the same defiant individuality that has defined his own career. She has never compromised her vision for commercial appeal. Her music is complex, challenging, and deeply rewarding. By placing her on his list alongside giants like Sinatra and Elvis, Axl is not only highlighting a younger artist he admires, but also reaffirming his core values, a belief in the power of a unique voice, unfiltered emotion, and fearless artistry. Another icon of female rock and roll power is the founder and lead vocalist of the Pretenders, Chrissie Hynde, an American singer who found fame in the UK. Hynde is the epitome of rock and roll cool. Her inclusion highlights Axl's admiration for singers who combine toughness with melody and attitude with artistry. Chrissie Hynde's voice is one of the most distinctive in rock. It's a cool, confident alto with a signature vibrato that conveys a mix of street-smart toughness and underlying vulnerability. She doesn't have a massive range, but she has something more important, an unmistakable attitude. She can deliver a snarling rocker like Precious and then pivot to a beautiful ballad like I'll Stand By You without ever losing her essential character. Hynde is not just a singer. She's a band leader who carved out her own space in a male-dominated world. She projected an image that was both tough and feminine, never sacrificing one for the other. The Pretender's ability to fuse the energy of punk with classic pop sensibilities is not unlike GNR's own blending of genres. Chrissie Hynde is a true original, and her place on this list is a salute to her enduring coolness. From the world of rock, Axl turns to a true genius of American music, Stevie Wonder. His inclusion is a testament to Axl's appreciation for pure musicality, virtuosic talent, and boundless innovation. Stevie Wonder is more than a singer. He is a one-man musical force. As a vocalist, Stevie Wonder is simply phenomenal. His voice is a joyful, expressive tenor capable of incredible feats of melodic and rhythmic complexity. His singing is a pure expression of joy, pain, love, and social consciousness. From the exuberant funk of Superstition to the tender beauty of Ribbon in the Sky, his voice is an instrument of immense emotional range and technical skill. The connection for Axl likely lies in this deep musicality. Stevie Wonder's classic 70s albums were incredibly ambitious, blending soul, funk, jazz, and pop into a seamless whole. He was a studio innovator who pushed the boundaries of popular music. Axl, with his own ambitious productions, would undoubtedly see a kindred spirit in Wonder's work. Stevie Wonder represents a level of musical genius that few have ever reached. Finally, we arrive at the last name on Axl's compiled list, and it's a titan. The godfather of soul, the hardest working man in show business, Mr. James Brown. His inclusion is a perfect bookend, a return to the very essence of performance, energy, and raw power. James Brown didn't just sing songs. He orchestrated rhythmic events. James Brown's voice was not a beautiful instrument in the traditional sense. It was a percussive weapon. He used grunts, screams, and shrieks to create a vocal style that was completely intertwined with the rhythm. For him, the groove was everything. He directed his musicians with vocal cues, treating his entire band as a single, giant drum machine. His focus was not on melody, but on rhythmic intensity and pure feeling. The influence of James Brown on Axl Rose is all about performance. It's about energy. It's about leaving everything on the stage. The physicality of Axl's performance, the dancing, the raw vocalizations that often prioritize energy over perfect pitch. All of this is in the tradition of James Brown. By including James Brown, Axl Rose pays tribute to the ultimate source of raw, high-octane stage power. So what does this journey through rock royalty, soul legends, and jazz virtuosos tell us? It shows that for Axl Rose, a great singer isn't defined by one thing. It's not just vocal range. It's about power, like Roger Daltrey. It's about authenticity, like Johnny Cash. It's about masterful interpretation, like Frank Sinatra. It's about raw, unbridled emotion, like Janis Joplin. And for him, it all started in a bathroom. Trying to channel the raspy magic of Don McCafferty, Axl Rose didn't just become a copy of these singers. He absorbed their lessons, synthesized their influences, and forged them into one of the most iconic and singular voices in music history. He became one of the few artists who could truly carry that flame forward. This isn't just a list of his favorite singers. It's the recipe for the voice that defined a generation. What do you think of the singers Axl has praised? Are there any surprises? Who would be on your personal list of the greatest singers of all time? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another story. Thanks for watching.